In front of the USS Little Rock at the Buffalo and Erie County Naval and Military Museum, it's the panel brought to you by Chek from the 2016 NHL Scouting Combine. And we have a special guest today, President and General Manager of the Edmonton Oilers, Peter Chiarelli, joins us now. Peter, first, thanks for taking the time to do this.
Welcome.
It's I know it's a busy week for you and the staff, but how's it been? 85 guys that you talked to. I'm sure it's a bit of a blur, but what do you make of it so far?
Well, it's good. I look at it as a necessary evil. These kids they're very well coached, well rehearsed, but you know, when you dig a little deeper in these 15 to 20 minute interviews, you can usually find out a little bit about them. Obviously there's some. You can weed out a couple of them, maybe 3 or 4 out of 85. So it's something that we have to do. Every team does it. And, you get some good youthful kids that it's fun to listen to, and then you get some that are a little full of themselves.
Peter, in terms of what you get out of this combine, I know you have close ties at the NFL Scouting Combine and the process that goes on there. But in terms of the actual testing, the physical testing, is there anything a kid can do to help or hurt himself in terms of just the physical testing? Forget the interviews for a second.
Well, I mean, the physical testing, when you look at the metrics, they're useful. You compare them to the historical data, and that's helpful. What I like in the NFL combines are the agility drills and the speed drills, and we've, as managers, we've talked about that over the years. It's getting some type of skating exercises, skating testing. It's a little more uniform in football, and you can, in hockey, and again, I know there are some teams that do on ice stuff, like your half ice dash or your full ice dash. The timing, it's different. It's different than football when you get a 60-yard dash and the agility drill. I think, but I do think in the future it's something that we should continue to try and to implement, to put in place for these types of combines.
Tom mentioned at the top, Peter, you cut such a wide swath when you get here. You got to talk to so many people. Is there any grouping that you try to come up with? For instance, you've got a couple of picks in the third round, maybe the beginning of the second round. Do you try to target around that and maybe in the back of your mind anticipate a batch of 10 to 15 kids that may be in play for you in particular at the draft?
Well, we've got, going into this week, we have a list of a certain number, and we've pegged where these players we think will fall. Again, that's subject to change too, but. Sure. But they're we have more thirds, so we pay more attention to the guys where we think will be available in the third. Some teams test 50 players here, some teams test all the players here. We're somewhere comfortably in between. It's a good chance to compile data, anyways. We videotape the interviews, so you never know when down the road when you're going to acquire someone in a trade or somebody, and you can go back. Any data you can have, it can help you. So, but we do target, we do cluster them, and that's probably why we don't do 120, whatever the max number is.
Speaking of trade, going back to 2002, you were with Ottawa at that time. We're at the draft in Toronto, and the Tampa Bay Lightning traded the 4th overall pick for Ruslan Fedotenko. Now, he helped them win a cup, but given the expansion coming this year, has that changed? Potential, the inevitable expansion that's going to be coming, or the potential of it. Does that change the dynamic with some of the picks, knowing that you don't have to protect that player that you draft this year? You wouldn't trade a pick right out of, say, the top 10, knowing that's a good player that you could carry forward.
Well, that's a lot of stuff in that question, Stoff.
I think you're used to that by now.
And you thought the player interviews were.
So as far as expansion planning, we're kind of into the full planning mode. There's right now there's kind of 2 approaches you can take based on the kind of thumbnail sketch of rules that they've given us, but we're not kind of overtly planning. That's a secondary, and we look at how our primary plans get impacted by expansion. Expansion isn't driving us yet, but it certainly is part of the planning.
Peter, there's been so much discussion about potential discussions you're having right now. In your experience, when do those kind of hit a crescendo, and when can you actually start formulating a plan for the draft? Or can it really change right up until the last minute? How do you handle it?
It's just kind of a continuous thing, Jack.
Yeah.
I think things come to a head a little bit at the draft because, there's a lot of assets, the draft picks that you can put into play. All I can tell you is that I've had a lot of discussions here. This is another useful tool for a general manager because most general managers are here. We're all in the rink. We're all within walking distance of each other. It's a very casual environment, so it's a good kind of breeding ground for those discussions. We'll continue to have them, but there's no real crescendo. It's just a constant dialogue.
And any more, Bob? You got one more?
Yeah. Let's do it out. Get him out of here.
Okay. just when the horn tells us it's time to wrap up. Peter, thanks for your time. Appreciate you doing this. I know it's been a busy week, so thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right. We've got more Combine coverage for you here on Oilers TV and, of course, EdmontonOilers.com. Myself, Chris Westcott, Jack Michaels, Bob Stauffer, as well as Chad. Right, guys? You guys are going to be doing the show, doing some stuff on Chad as well, so keep it locked on there. We've got you covered all weekend long.